All right, everybody. Hey, Mark Helton here. And first off, thanks so much again for joining us again. We have a really special guest today. We have John Dubay, and we're going to open up and talk a little bit more about what John's doing in his agency and how he's been able to grow his business using a lot of the same technologies and tools that we've been preaching about for years and years. John is, just to fill things in a little bit for you, John owns an outsourcing agency. He works based here in the United States. John, what does the niches that you're focused in primarily? What type of companies do you work with?
Mark, we actually have a number of different industry verticals that we work in. Software as a service, banking, financial, manufacturing, healthcare, work with agencies as well. We do a lot of stuff. We haven't specialized in one niche.
Okay, which is good. Keeping yourself wide open, having the ability to take on whatever fancies you.
Yep, exactly.
So John, if you wouldn't mind, I like jumping right into things. Can you talk a little bit about what made you decide to open up your agency? Tell us the name of your company and what it is that you guys do.
So the name of the company is Leads at Scale, at spelled A-T, not the at sign. So Leads at Scale. And in a nutshell, what do? We help B2B organizations generate well-qualified leads, set warm sales appointments for them so that their sales team can close sales and they can grow their business. It's as simple as that.
It seems like it's such a very simple thing to do. You're obviously an expert at this. Somebody that's coming and looking at what you do from the outside, it may seem like a really huge task. What got you into offering this as a service? Like what brought you into Leads?
What initially got me into this, and here we obviously haven't talked beforehand, so I'm going to take a left-hand turn on you. Hopefully it doesn't take your listeners, put your listeners off. I call it my entrepreneurial brain cramp. So I've been throughout the course of my career involved in outsourcing of one form or another, typically with Fortune 500 companies, not only call centers, but back office and things along those lines. Back in the 2008, 2010 timeframe, obviously crazy times in the U.S. I was actually working for a company that was based here in the U.S., Seattle area. We had a total of 8 people in our leadership team here, and we had about 4,500 people offshore. And it was one of the types of outsourcing companies that if you didn't fit the certain mold, if you didn't have 200 seats that you needed to have filled, things along those lines, we weren't interested in talking with you. There are a lot of other people out there that have a need that don't fit that mode. And so as I was transitioning and leaving that company, we actually got bought by a larger Indian organization. While I was leaving there, I had a former client that called and said, John, we've worked together in the past. I trust you. I need somebody to do X, Y, and Z. Who should I call? And of course, my entrepreneurial brain cramp was, you should just contract with us. I'm starting a business that does X, Y, and Z. Hang up the phone and then thought, now I need to start a business that does X, Y, and Z so I can send a contract to this guy and not make my name look bad in his eyes. That's how it all started. It's a funny story. It's not something that you're going to write a case study about in Harvard Business Journal, but
no, look, first of all, I appreciate that more than anything, because I think very many entrepreneurs that are successful have a very similar type of story where they didn't know exactly how the outcome was going to turn out, but they felt confident enough in their abilities to where they would just say, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and do it. That's tremendous. So from the time that you actually got that contract until you filled the order, so to speak, what did that look like? What was the time frame?
It was a fairly short time frame. I want to say it was probably 3 or 4 months maximum at the outside. It was a matter of just taking what I already knew from the industry, knew what he was looking for, then identifying the tools and technology that were available out there. Fortunately, a lot of this stuff is available cloud-based now, SaaS type models. That wasn't always the case. Probably a little older than you. And in my early days, we still had server rooms and T1 lines and lots of copper and things like that. It was all physical. It wasn't in the cloud. So things have changed by the time I started my business, and even over the course of the last 10 years, they've changed monumentally since then. So
would you say it's gotten easier now than
Certain aspects of it have gotten easier. Technology continues to improve. People, the norms and things, everybody these days with the last couple of years and the pandemic, people are more open and receptive to remote work, not having somebody sitting right in the office next door, et cetera. From that perspective, it's easier. We embraced the remote work model probably 8 or 9 years ago before COVID. I joke that we were remote before remote became cool. And we did that for some very specific reasons we'll probably get into here in a little bit. But that part became easier, little more difficult for some out there could be the labor aspect of it. The other aspect that's harder is that when I started this business, I think the average number of touch points to reach a decision maker and get them to engage and make a decision and get to a buying position, if memory serves, it was probably around 3 or 4 touch points.
Wow.
Wouldn't we love those? The I saw around the holidays, I think it's up to about 11 to 12 touch points now.
Which is still low. I've heard higher. Yeah. So tell me about this first project again, because it's very exciting. I know that really sets the tone for how your company is going to go. You said it took you 3 months to fill that first order. What was it that you had? What was the deliverable? What were you providing?
Outsourced inside sales for his client. He actually was an agency, a marketing agency in Indianapolis that specialized in the transportation area. And so he had a client that he had met. He was doing some press release work, some public work like that for them, and had a need for some outsourced inside sales work. So that's why he pulled us in and then white labeled our services and presented that to his client. That has since grown, obviously, with the company, but even the relationship with him. And he's pulled us into probably, 20, 24 additional projects with some with the same clients over and over again, some with some entirely different clients that we've gone into with him.
So are you providing people for them and systems, or?
Yes. Yep.
And how does that, do you transfer over the people and the systems, or how does that look?
No, we operate as your outsourced sales team. It's a turnkey solution for our clients, for his clients in that case. So we're providing the people, the training, the technology, the calls, and handing back to the client a warm, well-qualified sales appointment.
Okay. So you're primarily focused on delivering appointments. And now, do you get paid on an appointment basis, or is it like a hybrid model? Like, how do you bill your customers?
Yeah, we bill our services in two different ways, not two different ways, but 2 prongs to our pricing and our pricing model. One is a one-time setup implementation fee, covers all of the software, the back end, the training, all that type of stuff. And then going forward, it's a monthly service fee based entirely on call volume. Do they need 500 calls made on a monthly basis, or do they need 5,000 calls made on a monthly basis? And that's what drives that. Do we have pay for performance, pay for appointment model? No, we don't. It's not something that we're averse to given the right scenario, as long as it is, and I've had this conversation with a number of clients, if we can come up with a situation that's a win-win situation, that's all us. I'm in for that. Typically, when you have somebody calling and kicking the tires and saying, I just want to pay you for an appointment, it means that they either don't have all of their ducks in a row or they've been burned before. And it tends to be not bilateral, it becomes a unilateral partnership. And that's not what we're interested in. Secondarily, the reason that we typically shy away from the pay for performance type model is that, in simplest terms, Mark, anytime we're making phone calls for all of our clients on a daily basis, the people that we're talking to are going to fall into one of 3 broad categories, right? They're not qualified. Get them out of the database. You don't want to waste your time and energy chasing somebody that's not qualified and never going to do anything. Secondly, we've got the types of people that get the value proposition, understand the message. They're the ones that say, John, I've been waiting for your call. I've got my checkbook here. How quickly can I talk to Mark? Great. Qualify them with whatever specific qualifying questions the clients want and set a warm sales appointment. Everybody else that we're talking to is going to fall into that, I'll call it a nurture campaign, right? So not ready, willing, and able today to make it for various reasons. And there's some very valid reasons. Under contract with somebody, don't have a budget, call me next quarter or something along those lines. Those are perfectly valid objections, and we work around that. We've got processes in place to handle those within that nurture campaign. That's a small percentage. The larger percentage are typically people that are listening between the lines, so to speak. It's not that there's an objection that is state-driven, contract, budget, something along those lines. It typically is an objection that's related to, John, we're having a conversation. It sounds interesting to me. I get the value proposition. The in between the lines, that part of it is, I don't trust you yet enough to 20, 30, 40 minutes of my time and schedule an appointment.
Got it.
So you've got to have processes and systems built to continue to earn that trust, nurture that relationship, drip value, continue to send messaging, branded sales and marketing collateral, those types of things.
So you said that the average client is going to be, well, not average, could be a 500 calls or could be 5,000 calls. What does your typical client look like? Is it one, you only do SDRs or do you do BDRs or?
Typically, let me ask you, define the differences. So we're talking the same here.
So BDR would be a person who is calling like cold to businesses, reaching out cold to businesses. And then an SDR would be handling inbound leads coming from the website.
Qualified leads and turning them into sales qualified leads. Great. That's my basic definition of that as well too. I just didn't want to start heading down that path and have you think, no, that's not what I meant. We do both. The majority probably is the outbound cold call, pure cold call play. We also do work inbound leads, marketing qualified leads, and turning them into sales qualified leads, and or taking existing clients and upselling, cross-selling, not clients, our clients' customers, and then doing those upsell, cross-sell type campaigns for them, which is maybe in the middle of both of an SDR, BDR type.
So talk about the BDR. So like most companies, do they want one BDR, 10 BDRs? Is there like a set number of calls? What does that look like?
Typically, somebody is looking for, in the simplest terms, somebody's looking for results. So the results that they're looking for, what their goals and objectives are going to be what drive what the call volume and those types of things are. Within those goals and the call volumes and things, you've got a number of variables, obviously. You've got a quality of a list issue or non-issue. The impacts, the variables are the quality of the list, the messaging, the value proposition. If you don't have a good product or service and a poor message, it's going to be difficult. If you've got, we've got clients that have an average lifetime value of hundreds of thousands of dollars and very long sales cycles. Those goals and objectives tend to be very different than somebody who's got an average lifetime value of $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 and they're turning over annual contracts on a monthly basis.
You I'm sure probably have a target that you would like to hit when you're looking for a new customer, or do you just provide a quote to anybody who contacts you?
No, we do have a target, and typically we're only in the B2B space. We don't do any B2C. We look for, as I mentioned earlier, we're looking for partnerships. We're your virtual outsourced inside sales team. Everybody is getting, again, more used to that term virtual, but we look at that as a partnership and in that relationship. Can we work with these people? What's the reputation? What's the size? What's their average lifetime value? Those types of things there. What industry are they in? Certain industries are easier to work within than other industries. Example of somebody that was interested in trying to break into the U.S. market was a client that approached us and was looking for BDR work, true cold calls to take software development, software programming and things, and they were going to take it offshore and do it in Pakistan. The targets were the typical targets. I want to work with Amazon and Microsoft and Google and Facebook, and there shouldn't be any reason why they wouldn't want to talk with me and outsource all of their software development. There's plenty of reasons why these large companies don't want to do that. Security reasons, internal resources, those types of things as well too. So having those types of conversations, the end of that conversation conversation just ended up being, look, I think we need to either adjust what your expectations are, adjust who your ideal client persona is, or something along those lines. And we ended up passing on that project.
So as far as your customers are concerned right now, how many clients I'm sure it's not like you can just scale infinitely because it's a people problem. Systems and people and those things are there's a lot of work involved in managing that. Where do you feel like your biggest scale issues are, I guess, for yourself? And how are you working through that?
Interesting that you asked it from that angle. And this is where I said we're probably going to touch on that a little later in the conversation. Believe it or not, we do not have a big problem scaling. And the reason we don't is very specific, and it's tied to the reason we went remote 9 or 10 years ago to that remote model, 8, 9, 10 years ago. The reason is that 100% of my employees, and they are all my employees, they are all U.S. Native English speakers, reside in the U.S. They're all working out of remote offices. But the reason we're not having a problem is 100% of my employees are either blind or visually impaired. That we did that initial when I started this, and I told you my story about my entrepreneurial brain cramp, the first 2 people I hired, one sighted, one blind one. The blind woman is still with us today. And it intrigued me, and it made me wonder why she was being successful at this job. And when we were growing, when she'd refer people to us that were blind or visually impaired, they were inherently being successful at the job. That again intrigued me. I started digging into it a little more. I've since gotten involved in a couple of national organizations, the National Federation for the Blind, Disability In. I serve on a couple of boards. But what we learned is that the skill set that the blind and visually impaired have honed and leveraged in their day-to-day lives is a perfect, almost one-for-one match with the skill set you're looking for in an SDR or a BDR. Phenomenal active listening skills, good communication, attention to detail, creative, problem solver, focused. All of these types of skill sets that they need in their day-to-day life are a very good fit for having a conversation with a B2B decision maker. And then the reason I say that we don't typically have a problem scaling is that as I was looking into this and getting involved in these national organizations, I learned a couple of things. One was the underemployment rate for the blind and visually impaired. Let me just throw it out there and ask you, what do you think the unemployment rate is for the blind and visually?
I never even would have considered this until you just brought it up. So, and I'm honestly a little bit floored. I really wish we would have discussed this beforehand because I'm just like, now I wish I have an hour to just talk about this. If I were to guess, just because this is just me plucking a number out of the air, I'm going to say double what the national average.
Yeah, and you're close. It's over 70%, 70%.
I'm not close at all.
Being facetious, that fact, coupled with the fact that these folks tend to have the exact skill set that I'm looking for, I completely changed my business.
That's awesome. And you're helping people out, which is just amazing.
It is a win-win situation. Us, our employees, and our clients are all winning in that intersectionality of all of that going on.
I have one follow-up question because I know you don't have much more time and I want to ask this. Does this help, or what did you have to put in place technology-wise to be able to address this? Because now I know that they probably have some of this themselves, because I actually had friends that are in that situation.
Yeah.
So tell me about that.
So there obviously are technology issues. When I mentioned that our labor force, I said blind and visually impaired, and I mashed them together like they were one person. Mm-hmm. They are not. They're 2 completely different types of maladies. Somebody who is blind is somebody who is blind and cannot see, does not have any vision. We've got software, accessibility tools, things along those lines, screen readers, all of those types of things for the folks that are blind and that work for us. The folks that are low vision or visually impaired still have some sense of vision. And those folks, again, thank you technology, a lot of stuff available depending on the condition that we can use large format monitors. And we get monitors as large as TV screens and things for people. Color contrasts, those types of things, Zoom text and whatnot. Mm-hmm. A lot of things that are available out on the marketplace from that perspective.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So now 2 more questions. One, where do you see yourself at the end of 2022? How are things progressing for leads at scale?
Great question. I don't know if it's related as much to the pandemic. Perhaps it is, because more people are more accustomed to outsourcing, more accustomed to remote work, as long as, again, you get the results and you're doing the job to begin with. But 2021 was a great year for us. We were probably double what we were 2020. And 2022, we're going to probably a little more than double again. And our goal actually our goal by the end of 2025 is that we want to become the go-to place for blind and visually impaired to come for professional opportunities and career advancement, career paths and things by the end of 2025 of companies in the US.
So that's your main goal, is to focus on helping the person that you're getting a job?
We've got two mission statements really internally here. One is client facing, and that is to be able to provide turnkey solutions for our clients so that they don't have to worry about all of the heavy lifting in that first 70, 75, 80% of that sales cycle, and they can just focus on closing sales. So our focus, or our mission statement on that, is providing a good service for our clients and helping them with their business. The other mission statement is more internally focused, and that is to continue to grow and provide good professional opportunities and areas for advancement for people that are blind or low vision within our, and we're going to help us get to that point. Right now we're talking about BDRs, SDRs, cold calling, sales appointments and things, but really we are already expanding this year and into the next couple of years into all aspects of a client life cycle. Client life cycle being new client generation of those leads and things, and that's what Leads at Scale is focused on. Once they become a client, customer service, inbound calls, those types of things. The account management, from account management aspects and CSAT surveys, patient satisfaction surveys and things is there. And then client retention on the back end when somebody's getting to be a mature client and thinking about moving on. So we've got all of those three spaces in our sites, or all four of those spaces in our sites, and a different brand in each of those verticals focused on that. So the one we're going to be rolling out here shortly to go along with Leads at Scale is going to be Engage at Scale.
So final question, what would you say to the agency owner that might be on the fence of deciding whether or not that this is a service that they would like to offer to their existing client base, or dipping their toe into getting into outsourcing? What would you say to those individuals?
Yeah, my advice to them would be the same advice that I give to our clients and our prospects that I'm talking to on a regular basis. Nothing wrong with considering outsourcing that, as long as you've got the parameters and things in place to track, trend, measure, manage, etc. Also, nothing wrong with doing it internally or trying to start that up as well too. But if you're going to do that, make sure you've got the tools, make sure you've got the technology. The people and things like that are, believe it or not, the easy aspect. I read the business journals and things all day long. I know how hard it is to hire people now. We've got a targeted niche, so it makes it easier for us. Finding the people and getting it done is the easy part of that. You've got to make sure you've got processes in place. You've got technology to support that. And that's really where the rubber meets the road. You can't just say, I'm going to take an intern because I've got an extra computer and a phone line here, and I'm going to stick them in the corner with a stack of business cards that I got at my last trade show, or a spreadsheet, and expect that you're going to have success without any kind of training, processes, technology.
Like I said, I feel like we wished I would have known I wish I would have known what you were going to say, because I would have wanted to have another hour of follow-up questions on this. There's so many
different times.
Yeah. So how can somebody reach out to you if they wanted to work with Leads at Scale? I know you offer services for agencies and that sort of thing. So how can somebody get in touch with you?
Yeah. So our website is Leads at Scale, EADS at AT Scale, SCALE.com. Or you can reach out to me at jdubay, DUBAY, at the @ Leads at Scale, spelled AT.com. So,
and you guys are based in Seattle?
We are not. I was based in Spokane, Washington. So that's where you picked up on that, until about 3 months ago, and moved to the East Coast. So I am about 30 minutes north of Baltimore, Washington area now.
Okay. Yeah, you're right. When we first started talking, it was East Coast. I don't know why I even threw me for a loop there. Awesome. So you're in like way up north, right? I'm not very good with
Mid-Atlantic area. So
okay.
yeah, not Pennsylvania is north of us, New York's north of us, and things is just south of us.
Okay.
Mid-Atlantic region, East Coast time zone. You're right.
Yeah. So you do deal with a lot of people across the country, or would you say most of your customers are in the East Coast?
No, not at all. Our agents are across the country. Our clients are not only across the country. We've got 2 or 3 in Canada. We've got somebody in Denmark. We've got somebody in Bangkok.
Wow.
We've got an Israeli company, a South African company. We just signed, I'm looking at my whiteboard here now, just started working at the beginning of this month with a Polish company and have another Polish company signing a contract now. So yeah, we don't disparage. We'll take any and all customers that we can add value to.
Awesome. John, again, I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to meet with me today. And your business is really interesting. And I'm sure you're going to do great things, especially because you guys have something at the core that you're really driven to helping. And I think that's important.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate it. I've enjoyed the conversation.
Same here. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Goodbye.